How's it going, team? This is the Brown Man. I hope all is well. Today, I'm going to go over my hopes for year 2 of Evil Dead the game. I'm going to try to be as clear and concise as possible. So, let's get into it. Year 1 was okay. There seemed to be new content every quarter. Every quarter there was new content, which is fine for a game. The issue was a lack of communication up until the point of the DLC drop. So in the beginning, when the game first dropped, we got a couple days notice of a dev stream. For the 2013 dev stream, we had a 3-hour notice before it happened, which is really last minute. And then for the Blacksmith and onward, well, for the Blacksmith, there was just a short YouTube video. And then Ruby and onward, it was just like little Twitch GIFs or short Twitch videos, or rather Twitter videos, not Twitch, Twitter videos. So they really shortened up the communication and their presentation of the content. And that really helped hurt the hype. And it also didn't help that some of the streams dragged on for a bit, was rather boring. Instead of accepting some of the criticisms online, it seems like they turtled up a little bit, and that definitely did not help. So I hope that in year 2, that we do have some more transparency in between DLC releases. Maybe they can have weekends or weekdays where they would just play with some streamers and whatnot and just have fun. It's okay just to have a very chill, casual environment. It's okay. It's okay to do that, guys. It's okay to show some love to the gamers and the community, and not just have people come in on TikTok. That is something that I hope that can be addressed on their end. Is actually showing love and showing care for their product, the information around their product. That's on that dev end. Another thing that they can do is actually have double EXP weekend again. It can be every weekend, just to retain the player base they have and keep them happy, and possibly motivate a couple of people to get into the game. At least motivate a couple of people to play the game on a weekend. So now I'm going to go into would be some gameplay changes that I would believe would be very beneficial. So one is the balancing is, of course, a little bit off. A lot with these ASIMs is that survivors are generally, when played at a certain tier, is super powerful compared to the demon. Is difficult to balance ASIMs. I get it, but there are some general concepts that would help be a okay quality of life buff to demons without being just super nerfed to survivors, and then they can do further balancing from there. So first, bosses should be balance bar immune right off the bat. Balance bar breaks faster than health. So the way that balance bar should be used in this game is that it should be an early game help. And I believe that when you have the final invest in basic and elites, they should be balance bar immune. And I think bosses should be balance bar immune off the rip. It makes sense. It's a way to get the demon to back off of you, and the demon will have to get strong enough by investing in those units that they can eventually be fully immune to balance bar, and you're going to have to burst them out. This allows characters like Annie to have early game back off, but also the late game damage using her perks. It's okay for balance bar not to be viable throughout the entire game. And of course, this will only work on possessed units being balance bar immune, so that way you can still get finishers in. The other thing with the balance bar is that it's going to have to go into the skill tree. Every single character will have something like Rocksteady. So you see here is a Rocksteady boss. Henrietta actually has 2 balance bar perks, well, for the boss unit. They're both going to have to be reworked to hopefully something much more useful if bosses are balance bar immune at the rift. They have Rocksteady Boss, but she also has Miss Nobi's Quick Comeback. Miss Nobi's Quick Comeback is also going to have to be reworked because she's balance bar immune, so there is no stun recovery speed because she cannot get stunned. So that is something that is going to be looked into. The other thing is actually going to be skills. So she has really bad influence 1, really bad influence 2, really bad influence 3, and Puppet Master also has Grand Master 1, 2, and 3. Let's just actually make all that the 4th perk, and then you give her 2 perks that actually help her out here in the middle, and then all the bad influences can be condensed into, or consolidated into, just the 4th perk. Those changes alone will make life a lot more helpful. The other thing too is that they can also remove all balance bar from the, if they want, from the skill tree, because they'll get immune with the last investment. So this will allow for some interesting stuff like increased attack speed, or just in general that could be cool. Like imagine having increased attack speed for units instead of Rocksteady, right? So it'll be attack speed up by, it'll be like maybe 10, 15, 20% attack speed, or it'll be 10, 15, 20%. I'm not too sure of the numbers. I don't want to make them like supersonic and really break them, but definitely some extra attack speed would be pretty decent for these Henrietta units. It might have to change the perks according to the class, but something other than Rocksteady and making them immune with the 5th invest, just like how old Boss was, or Boss currently is now, will be a decent help. Also, I believe that you shouldn't be able to split cap, so you should have one objective revealed to you, and then you deal with that objective, and then the other objective is revealed to you. So you do the dagger or pages, and then the next location is revealed. This way, it does add time to the game. Another thing on the mention of time is that we should have timed events. As I said, not just double EXP weekend, but having ranked weekends. Having ranked weekends is an interesting way to kind of spice things up. So ranked weekends can be, between obviously the weekend, but they can get extra EXP for ranked, and they can be ranked rewards. Those are decent incentives that will allow people to kind of grind a little bit during the week, because if they don't think they perform that well, they can play maybe a little bit during the week. I know some people who are more competitive or who are willing to learn will play a little bit during the week just to be like, hey, you know what, let me get ready for this weekend. And this weekend it's all on fest for the ghost speeders and for the demons. There's double EXP, there's extra EXP for ranked, but it only works on a weekend. That way the player base isn't super split during most of the week, but they get something in return. That's pretty solid. That I think that can happen. Going along with the notion of having perks that need to be consolidated, we're going to go into someone like Annie. So Arthur had Weapon Master Light Attacks and Weapon Master Heavy Attacks consolidated into one perk, Weapon Master Melee. And that means that they do have the potential, and they are aware that there are certain kits being fluffed out by having one perk split into two, when they essentially do the same thing. So for Annie, you have Haymaker and Slugger. They both actually boost the balance bar. With my proposed rework, bosses will be balance bar immune anyway. So being balance bar immune means that we can get rid of the boss balance bar effect, and we can actually merge both of these perks together because it just affects basics and elites at that point. Merge both of them together and give her another perk. And they can scale down leader buffs. The reason why they scale down leader buffs is just because there is a lot of damage when you stack them, so you can just scale it down a little bit. and 'cause that's fine. Especially in this meta, very often there'll be dual leader. So some of the buffs just need to be toned down. You get at P5 you get a 65% bonus, right? 35% and 30%. And then you have someone like El Jefe's 85% extra range damage. It gets really, really nutty really fast. And then you have ED1 Ash uh, hitting a target, so they take 20% more damage. That's a that's what is that? That's 105% extra range damage. It gets really crazy, so they do need to tone that down. Evil Dead 1 Ash is an exception because it doesn't buff your team. It acts more as a debuff on the target. So that's very interesting. So definitely we can do something like that. Same thing for El Jefe. El Jefe, you can have El Jefe be whatever it is, but it can have an additional effect. That way, if you perform a finisher or inflict dismemberment, then it doubles. And then we can give him maybe an additional aura that would be something like increased dismemberment of weapons. That way, it's easier to inflict dismemberment on AI and get certain things proccing. Or they could just add a different effect, maybe a Weapon Master Boomstick. I know some people were talking about that. Give him a Weapon Master Boomstick. That's okay. Ruby is definitely an issue as well. Definitely overtuned. Look, you have 4 effects in one perk, 4 effects in another perk, but meanwhile Annie has 2 perks that essentially do the same thing. It's just ridiculous. I do get that as the game evolves, things step up, but also going into year 2, they need to be mindful that, hey, you know what, this stepped up, but this revealed certain inconsistencies or certain redundancies in other characters. So if they mitigate the redundance of other characters, they can still make Ruby, once again, it is what it is. If they want to make it strong, that's fine. But then they definitely need to bring down these values as well. It's just way too much. The values are way too high. You can have, for example, 35% cooldown reduction on Ruby, and then because most teams will have at least one support, you can have a Brock with you, and that'll be 45%, 47% cooldown reduction just with 2 leaders. The values can get way too high, especially if you have the skill tree. Hunters, warriors, and leaders have that 10% extra cooldown. So if you add that on top, that's going to be 57% cooldown reduction. So it gets really, really, really disgusting. So it is best to just keep that in mind. Ruby does need to get looked at. Once again, I think maybe it's just the values. Maybe they need to go to 10%, 10 and 12%. Maybe that would be a decent help, just to bring it all down, because people do leader stack. So they need to be mindful of multiple leaders. And next up, we're going to talk about Bullhead Boy. Let's merge both of these targets together and give him Weapon Master Shovel. It just makes sense. I know that's my boy. That's my boy Bullhead. So I will be proposing that buff. I'm okay if they reduce mark target damage. If they reduce it to 15% and keep mark target healing the same, if they reduce it, it's okay. It's okay to do a little bit less damage for the mark target if they're going to give him a shovel mastery. That's fine. I do understand that survivors do a lot of damage now, so it's okay. It can be 10%, 15%. He adds a little bit extra oomph, and that's fine. But it doesn't need to be completely overbearing. And it's not a direct buff, as I said. It targets the unit. It's not a direct. It doesn't directly buff the damage, so to speak, of the team. But still, that still adds up to some really crazy numbers. So we'll see. Maybe they reduce leaders' auras, and then if they see it's still too much, they're gonna have to get rid of this guy. This guy's mark target damage, or at least reduce it. Well, I'll say reduce it, not get rid of it. Next up is actually going to be, finally, is Prestige. So all your perks should be buffed with Prestige. So all 4 of your unique perks should get buffed. It doesn't have to be super big. It could be Mark target damage is 15%, and then it goes back to 20%. At Prestige 5, or at Prestige, it could be Prestige 2. Mark target healing doesn't need a super big number buff either. But then once again, you have the Shovel Mastery. The Shovel Mastery can get buffed, etc. Just every perk needs to get buffed. And then for the last Prestige, you get a skin. You get a unique skin. That would be pretty dope. Just a simple change, because the grind is quite grindy. The grind is grindy. And that is it. That's it for just a couple ways of how they can improve Evil Dead the game. Consolidate perks. That way they can make additional perks for characters. Buff all perks with the Prestige. They can have consistent double EXP weekends. They can have... It would be more competitive weekends or ranked play with ranked rewards. And they can rework the skill trees. They can rework the skill trees because they remove balance bar from bosses, and they have balance bar immunity built in with the last evil invest of basics and elite units. So I hope you guys be safe, stay hydrated, and of course, have a good one.